Joining me now on the Knicks Film School Podcast. It is officially draft season. I have deemed it so. You don't get to ask questions because we're getting close. Might not feel like it, but we are. And college guys have played a lot of games. It's about time to dive into this. So Spencer Pearlman used to be the draft guy. He has moved on to greener pastures, but I went to him and I was like, who is the best person that you could recommend to fill your shoes for this draft season? And he only had one name. He's the author of the blog, Jake in the Paint. He's the host of Prep to Pro Pod. And most importantly, he has, as we were talking about a moment ago, a picture of Christopher Nolan's best movie in his Twitter header, Jake Rosen. Jake, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, John. I'm really happy to be here. As I was telling you off the air, I am a diehard Knicks fan, so this podcast has been in my rotation for the past couple of years. So it's going to be a fun one to actually come on Knicks Film School and talk draft. Obviously, I have some pretty big shoes to fill with the man, the myth, the legend, Spencer Pearlman.
It's all myth. It's not real.
But yes, The Prestige, one of my favorite movies. It's also my bio. My bio, I have the tagline, "Are you watching closely?" I think that's one of my favorite lines that I kind of also apply to draft scouting. Are you watching closely? And, you know, the whole notion that you don't really want to watch closely because you want to be deceived, but it's all right in front of you in the film. So a little nugget. I take The Prestige very, very deeply.
Well, we started talking about this a minute ago when you were talking about how you started really diving into tape during quarantine and watching like 3 games a day, which, man, I was never a draft person, and I started, but I was like watching a game like every couple of days. And there's not always great basketball being played at the college level. So you were starting to say, but can you just maybe like, what was that like for you to really get into the draft stuff during the quarantine process?
I mean, just like everyone else, like there was kind of nothing to do. So, you know, I'm kind of learning about opportunity cost in microeconomics 101. And my opportunity cost of watching one basketball game during quarantine was nothing. I was giving up nothing. There was nothing else to do. So I've always loved basketball. And I don't want to make it seem like I was like not in the game. Like I was definitely writing articles, watching games, but, you know, it was kind of balanced between me playing high school basketball, me being a high school student, you know, being an 18-year-old socially. And then when everything else kind of stopped, I had the film to fall back on. So I kind of like, that's when I really upped the ante on that. You know, I think my articles have probably expanded tenfold since before quarantine to now. I seem to have forgot what the word concise means, but it's okay. All that good stuff. Thing. No, not a bad thing. I just hope my readers have some patience for it. But yeah, ever since quarantine, this has kind of just been like the nonstop thing that I have always been thinking about, watching, whatever. Obviously, you know, it was a big adjustment going to college and, you know, like going to the Midwest, living in a dorm, working that out, talking about social life, college social life, very different from high school social life.
You're making me reminisce.
So
you gotta stop.
The times, whether it's waking up early or squeezing a game in between classes, I make it work, but it's definitely something I love to do. So there's no complaints.
Well, I've been following your stuff because, full disclosure, Spencer mentioned you to me for a while back before we started even talking about the last draft class, and you think the game at a really high level. So I want to get right into it because correct me when I say something wrong. Here's my perception right now about this draft. There is a clear top 5 who I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit. And then there is kind of a next tier, which I texted. So you may have probably saw Was had his, I think big board maybe a week ago. Yeah. And I forget, I texted Spencer. I'm like, he has the top 5 and then he has this next 5 and then like a bunch of guys. It feels like there's a second tier starting to emerge. Would you agree with that? And he's like, yeah, I probably would. And then there's like this morass of guys who seem intriguing, seem, you know, tantalizing. Like, I don't know what the words are. Is that how you're seeing this draft right now? Or do you see it a different way?
Yeah, I mean, I think the 2 tiers is definitely for me. We're definitely going to get into that consensus top 5. I'm not there yet personally.
Oh, really? Ooh.
Mine's more of a top 4. I'm okay with Kuminga. I'm not there with Green just yet.
Interesting. Okay.
So that's definitely something we'll talk about. But yeah, I have what I've been talking to people, and I'm pulling up my board right now because it changes so much. So
do you change your board like on like a weekly basis, or
probably like a weekly? Yeah, like a weekly every 2
That doesn't sound healthy, but okay.
No,
it's your life.
Not.
It's fine.
Honestly, this year I've taken a step back from, the whole board thing. Once you realize that looking back in hindsight, no one's going to be like, you had him 12th, I had him 9th. Like, that's not really how this thing works. So big boards can definitely be unhealthy. I'm trying to like take a step back from it, but definitely it's a good exercise. So right now I would go Cade, Mobley, Suggs, Kuminga as like a group of 4 that I'm relatively confident in that order at the moment. Okay. And then the next group, we have Moses Moody, Sharife Cooper, the Tennessee guys, Jaden Springer, Keon Johnson, Jalen Green, and Franz Wagner. And those are I think that gets me to 10. So that's like kind of my second tier right now. And then you have someone like Ziare Williams, who's kind of like split in between the next group of guys and like the 5 through 10 guys. He's a little bit complicated. And then rounding out the lottery, guys like Kispert, Bouknight, and Jalen Johnson at the moment. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Okay. Yeah, you said a lot of names who I want to get into a little bit more. I happened to notice, it was funny. I saw it floating around Twitter earlier today, the $15 thing. And I'm like, yes. I want to ask Jake about this. And then I saw you, of course, gave your answer, where somebody was like, you have $15 and you can make a 5-man lineup, and Cade Cunningham is $6 and Evan Mobley is $5. And then the other guys are $5 and $4. And you didn't hesitate. You're like, give me Cade and Evan Mobley.
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just gonna say from a team building thing. Like when I first saw it, I was give me those 2 guys and I'll make the rest work.
Is Cade like because I remember I've been talking to Spencer for way too long. I remember when we talked about the Zion draft, he was like, yeah, there's Zion and then there's like a huge chasm and then there's whoever else you want to put. It's not as big with Cade and everybody else, right? Or is it big for you?
It's not as big, and that's only because Evan Mobley exists.
Okay. Interesting.
I think these 2, I tweeted about it the other day, like, to me, they're not just 1 and 2. Like, these are 2 genuine special prospects that, like, I think we're looking at coming into the game at the same time. Both fit exactly where the NBA is going. Cade is clearly, that big wing mold that everyone's looking for, who can run pick and rolls, can get his own off the bounce, live dribbles with both hands. The shot is beyond anything I could have ever imagined when he was in high school right now. He basically doesn't really have a flaw. Honestly, there's no flaw with the shooting at the level it is right now. The only flaw is his assist to turnover ratio because his teammates don't make open shots. Yes,
that much I know. It's not a great team, right?
No, I mean, and the on and off splits with him, like that's a thing that people are trying to like make a thing. I don't really think it's a thing. That they're not significantly worse and in some areas better with him off the floor. I think it's just, college basketball and like things happen. I don't really want to draw too much from it, but Cade is incredible. Not only just a great prospect, ton of fun to watch. Like I know a lot of NBA guys don't really want to watch college basketball, and I don't blame you. But Cade is a ton of fun to watch. And Evan Mobley is the same. Evan Mobley is kind of this mobile big who moves like no one I've ever seen before. A 7 feet tall, crazy wingspan, gets off the ground in a split second. Is already a very capable passer. I think it's a very good bet that he's going to shoot. We're already seeing him space the floor. So, like mechanics take a while to like load up and actually follow through, but it's smooth, and he even has taken some pull-ups. So I think those 2 are like the special guys.
Okay.
I think there's probably a bigger gap between I personally think there's a bigger gap between Mobley and Suggs than there is Cade and Mobley.
You stole my next question. Cause like I already am getting asked by people like, oh, we'll package our pick with the Dallas pick and like, something else. And we'll just move up to draft one of these guys. And like, feels like if someone has a chance to draft Cade or Mobley, like, no, that's not doesn't feel like that's pick your trade. But maybe with one of these other guys with Suggs or, Kuminga and then, further on down, maybe that's a possibility, I guess. Mm.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, in the beginning, it wasn't really looking like Evan Mobley was kind of getting that mainstream respect that he, probably deserves, but
the dude's a monster.
Oh, he's an absolute monster.
There's nothing he can't
do. There's nothing he can't do. I mean, he's absolutely incredible. Both of them are. Praising one is no knock against the other.
Mm.
They're both absolutely incredible, and I hope a team wouldn't trade out.
Yeah, I mean,
unless they trade with the Knicks, then that's great.
Well, that would be nice. So remind me, you had Suggs third?
Suggs third, yeah.
Okay. I have only watched not even a handful of Gonzaga games because they blow everybody out. Yeah. I mean, it's beautiful basketball. Don't get me wrong. It's I don't know. Are they the best college team this century? Maybe. I don't know who would give them a run for their money. There's nothing to like worry. Are you worried about the shot with him? Because that's the only real knock on his game.
I'm not worried about the shot. If there's one thing I would worry about, it's the handle.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, again, like, I don't want this to be like a victim of overthinking. Like, I was someone who was a little bit lower on Tyrese Haliburton because I didn't trust that he could, operate on the ball at a high level. And like, here I am 30 games in, clearly a moron. And
listen, you weren't the only one.
I am not the only one, but like, if I'm not going to learn from my own mistakes, then what's the point in doing this? And, having Suggs the year after evaluating Hallie and kind of and I don't, there are a lot of things I don't regret about like the Haliburton evaluation. The pull-up shooting has taken a miraculous jump in somewhere I could have never imagined. And that's been very advantageous for him. But, just players being really good at basketball, like that is concrete set in stone. Tyrese Haliburton was a hell of a college basketball player. And, while Jalen Suggs clearly isn't at that level of impact, he's still putting up really good numbers and, leading a very good Gonzaga team. Whether the offense directly runs through him on a possession by possession basis, that's something that's probably can be debated between Timmy and, Ayai and all the guards that they have. But I mean, point blank period, Jalen Suggs has been very, very good and was incredible against all the high level competition. It's kind of taken a little bit of a step back. The shooting has regressed a little bit in conference play. The worry for me is like the handle and the ball security. I mean, I wrote about him in that second side creation piece that's pinned to my Twitter. And he was kind of like the big driving force behind that, because it's basically my point of writing that was, look, he might not be your point guard that you can run everything through, but the NBA is played in a way where it doesn't really matter right now. As long as you have someone else who can also create advantages and bend the defense and get paint touches, then it's okay if Jalen Suggs goes off the ball more. And that's where I do trust the shot. I haven't been able to pinpoint the exact issue of what this ball security issue is, but he tends to get stripped far too often when going into the lane. The handle is a little bit loose, but I mean, he's so incredibly smart. He's a good athlete. I trust the shot long term, especially off the bounce. I mean, I just think he has a lot good going for him.
I agree. I feel like I shouldn't say we've never had a guy. It feels like it's been a long time since the Knicks had a guy quite like that. That just kind of has this exudes like this guy is just really going to make your team better, and not in a Frank Ntilikina way that nerds like me were like gushing like, oh, look, it's a dig. He dug there, and he fought around that screen. But like, he's making your team better, but it's also like concrete, big stuff, like making shots and doing the little things. So like, I would be beyond my wildest dreams if they got Suggs. But they're probably not going to be in that range to get him. Moving closer to where their range might be, we have the two G League guys. I'm happy you said you were down on Green because, like, he's another guy. I've watched him a couple times now, and there's something missing. What is missing? You tell me. What's missing there?
It's a tough sell because, Jalen Green, we've been tracking him, since he's freshman, sophomore in high school. He's always been this big time prospect playing, and he was a local product. So he's playing at his public high school for the first couple of years, being a freak athlete, getting whatever he wants. And then to me, my wake up call with Jalen Green kind of came around the EYBL circuit, the Nike circuit going into his senior year.
Okay.
He was having a little bit of a tough time. The shot wasn't fully developed yet. And he was more of the slashing wing who was a crazy athlete, but his handle is very loose and high. And I think that's still the biggest problem till this day. He ended up like tuning it up a little bit in Peach Jam. And then his senior year of high school was when the shooting kind of came around. And that's big for his development. I think he needs to shoot it at a pretty high level, especially off the bounce. The sell with him is this 6'5", 6'6" wing guy who absolutely jumps out of the gym. That's pretty damn obvious. And he does have some solid space creation. I can't quite put, like, the handle is loose. It's definitely loose. If you're pressuring him at the point of attack, it's going to be tough for him. Him getting downhill, he can't like fully get down. Like him compared to Keon Johnson, who we're going to talk about, I'm assuming at some point.
I'm excited to talk about Keon Johnson.
So like they are the two like holy shit, like athletes in the draft.
Well, the dunk that Keon had where he put the dude into the hoop. Was that a week ago or so? It
was like a week and a half ago, and that was one of the crazier poster dunks I've ever seen. Because,
oh my God.
And the thing with Keon is like Keon, we're going to talk about it with that poster. Like that was off like a 1-2. Like there was no running momentum. He was like lightly jogging, caught it off a hop step and like punched a dude through the rim, which is just otherworldly stuff. With Jalen, he'll catch some alley-oops. He'll have poster dunks in transition, but it's not as functional in the half court because he can't like get as low. Like his handle kind of holds him back as a driver, if that makes sense. Like his handle being high doesn't allow him to get all the way downhill. And then he kind of resorts to these snatchback mid-ranges, which are okay because like if you're a high-level shot maker, then that's what you're going to do. And like he had one game, in his senior year of high school, he played against La Lumiere, which is like a big high school power. And he had like 6 straight pull-up threes in a row. Bang, bang, bang. Like a little bit of like Zach LaVine-esque like this year. And,
that's scary though.
Oh, it's scary. And,
it's scary good, but it's also scary bad.
And and that's you hit the nail on the head there. And, I think he's gotten a lot of Anthony Edwards comparisons, going back last year, that was a big debate. Like, who'd you take, Anthony Edwards?
You're throwing some names out there. Zach LaVine, Anthony Edwards.
But the thing about Ant is that Ant could get to the rim theoretically whenever he wanted to. And I think we're seeing that this year. Whenever he wants to get downhill, he's going to get downhill and he could punch it on you. With Jalen, I'm a little bit more skeptical that he can just get downhill whenever he wants because, in ISO situations, he does get walled off a little bit easier and the passing isn't exactly where I'd want it to be. He's going to be a secondary guy and there is value to him being a secondary guy who's going to hit big shots. Good pull-up shooter. The mechanics have held up. The lower body is a lot more balanced. He's landing cleaner. It's a lot more straight up, straight down than it was before. And that means a lot. But I mean, you said there's something missing and I don't fully disagree with you.
Okay, good. I'm happy it's just not me. All right. So those are the big 5. Let's target a couple people who I think are particularly interesting. Given, look, you're paying more attention to college right now, but it's not hard to figure out like, okay, so the Knicks now have an all-star, which is nice thing to have. He's a 4. They have a 5, who I like, we'll see what the long-term future of Mitch is here. And they have RJ Barrett, who we don't need to talk about right now. Still high on RJ. Still high. Before people get mad at me, still high on RJ. Needs a little work. Likes to have the ball. The shots still coming along. So, finding like pieces that we're like, okay, this would be a really good fit along with the Knicks is tough because unless it is your, unless it's a Dame Lillard, clone, which like after Suggs, who knows, maybe like. That guy's not right. That like unless Mr. Cooper learns how to shoot, that guy's not really in this draft, right? After Suggs. Yeah,
you absolutely hit the nail on the head. And even Suggs, I do have a little bit of issues pegging him as the Knicks' perfect fit because he is
the closest thing to
Yep. Suggs, I think Suggs is probably the best Knicks fit. It just, honestly, I've rephrased that. It depends what you're going for. If you're looking to solve the needs right now, Suggs and Cooper are your guys. If you're looking to just add infrastructure and build for the future, and we recognize that we're still 2 years away from being 2 years away, which I think we are, and you're just looking to add good pieces around these guys, you're still figuring out what you do and don't have. Because that's where I think the Knicks probably should be. Like, we have a lot of young guys that are coming up on second contracts. Kevin Knox, Frank Ntilikina, Mitchell Robinson. There are decisions that need to be made. And don't want soon. Soon. And those are tough decisions that will weigh on your books. So I'm more content with the Knicks playing hey, let's wait and see. And let's keep adding pieces. Let's keep stockpiling good basketball players. And we'll kind of go from there. I think we both know that, like, and all the listeners that watch Knicks, eventually you're going to need to get someone in there who's going to balance out the creation reps and balance out who has the ball in their hands. Yeah. I love Julius Randle. He's been, I despised him last year. I didn't know if I could go through a whole nother season of this watching him in the preseason. He isn't the guy I've ever like. He's been incredible.
Different player.
He's a different player, and I've struggled to even understand how that happens. You know, as someone who studies player development and all these little like Julius Randle throwing wraparound passes, not something I ever envisioned. But here we are.
Chris Paul from long mid range.
Yep,
didn't see that coming.
Nope. And you know, Randle, while he's having an incredible season, all-star worthy, I don't know if it's in our long-term best interest to run the offense solely through him. That is now my literal biggest question about the Knicks.
Forget this year.
Yeah.
Moving forward, because anybody who's like, oh, I know what Julius Randle's going to be if he's the guy that is the secondary on a team. No, you don't. Nobody knows that.
No.
Not with this version of Julius Randle, at least. Like what? It's just, I don't know. It's hard for me to visualize because he clearly is thriving with whatever his usage is, 28, 29 usage. So yeah, no, I agree with you. I just want you hit the nail on the head. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, while I do think long-term Randle likely should be scaled down, it's hard for me to say to who. I mean, the answer is in my opinion, Immanuel Quickley. I think that's the prime option. I don't think he's there yet.
Come back on this pod anytime.
I don't think Immanuel Quickley is there as a point guard. You know, I think we know that he's not getting to the rim. He's not making advanced floor mapping reads, but what he is doing is compromising the defense with elite pull-up shooting, crazy touch, and just some flair. Like he kind of has it going for him right now. And I know he's going through a little rough patch right now, but like that's a guy I want to see grow on the ball. I don't think he's the long-term point guard, but he is a guy that I see being a piece.
Okay.
That's someone I want. And, you know, in this draft, I do think, and, you know, the guys we're going to start talking about, they're pieces, you know, they're pieces that you can add. And I don't think the Knicks, you know, it's tough because this draft was always the draft that was getting billed as the draft that was going to save the Knicks because we thought we were going to be deciding between Cade and Mobley. It turns out we are a lot better than we thought. So now you kind of have to readjust your expectations and, you know, look for that piece rather than the savior, if that makes sense.
I love it. Let's get into some of them. So I want to save Keon for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
I want to start with Bouknight. Bouknight, did I pronounce it correctly? I think I pronounced it.
I think it's Bouknight. I've heard
Bouknight.
Okay. I don't know. Some people said Bouknight. I don't know.
Bouknight sounds better. I like Bouknight better.
Yeah, I think it sounds cooler, so I say that one, but I'm not sure.
He is, so for those who don't know, he's a 6'5" sophomore guard on UConn. He was out for about a month. Just made his return last week. I only watched the return game. I don't even know. Have they played since then?
I don't think they've played since then.
Okay. I was like really good early on in the season about like knowing when all of these guys are playing every night. And they played a couple nights ago against Georgetown, and he went for 20 and another 10 rebounds. This guy likes to rebound the ball, doesn't he? And he's just a straight 2, right? And okay. He seems like he has a knack for putting the ball in the old basket. What do you make of James Bouknight?
So James Bouknight, another shameless self-plug, also featured in that piece pinned to my Twitter. So you want to go find those guys, go give them a read. But with Bouknight, he is absolutely wired to score, and he's damn good at it. Puts the ball in the basket at an efficient clip, does it in a multitude of ways, can get us off the bounce. My favorite part about his game is his off-ball. His off-ball usage, an incredible cutter. You know, the way I phrase it is that he like literally runs routes off the ball. The way he sets up, the way he sets up, you know, backdoor cuts and dribble handoffs and all that stuff. And then he's a freak athlete. We've seen the dunks, and his hang time at the rim is an incredible asset. Great body control when he coming off these backdoor cuts, you know, being able to contort his body around help and finish. He had one of the craziest and ones I've seen all year. In his like 40 piece, I think it was against Creighton.
Yeah.
You know, the ball, he got fouled, lost the ball, and then retained the ball all while in midair and flipped it up for a reverse. No, he does some absolutely nutty stuff scoring the basketball. It's tough, you know, the Knicks fit with him because my issue with Bouknight and why I've kind of slid him down to that back end lottery instead of the top 10, where I was like initially kind of eyeing him in. I'm a little bit worried about the playmaking. He's very one dimensional while making reads. I admittedly haven't watched their last two games, but I was basically watching every game up until he got hurt in preparation for the piece. And, the best passes I've seen him make in all those games were strictly to the roller. And it was if the roller did not properly get tagged by the help. Again, that doesn't take rocket science. And
you could count the amount of assists he has. I guess you barely need a third hand. You could count most of them on two hands this year.
No, and and it's evident. That's evident on film. He had one assist where I was kind of like, I have all this clip in my head, and he, it was a give and go, set it up with a great a little jab, got into the paint, and then made a simple decision. Corner helped off him, kicked to the corner, 3.
Okay.
That is more of how I think he's going to make reads. However, if you want to extrapolate down the line, there's some people would say, and I think I'm kind of in this camp, there's a problem if you're not making second, third reads at the college level. For him, if the roll man's tag, he's aborting the entire play, reversing back, and moving on. So while I do think there's a place for James Bouknight in the league, and, if he lands in the correct situation, I think he'll be very valuable. Someone who can score the ball, play it on and off of it, a great athlete. If you can tune up the off-ball defense and his positioning, you're looking at someone who's valuable. However, my thing with the Knicks is I'm looking for people who can attack off the bounce and make good decisions and make plays. And, we're lacking that. I would say in our perimeter creation is players who can draw the defense, then make good decisions and maybe manipulative passes out of it. And I think that's where Bouknight falls a little short. I'm not completely against him with one of the 2 picks. He is, however, gaining a little bit too much mainstream hype for me. I think I saw him at number 6 in the SI big board. I think
I saw that as well,
which is a little too hot for me.
Well, you just described a player that leads me to ask about Mr. Jaden Springer. So we have the 2 kiddos at Tennessee. I mean, there's more than that. They're a good team, so it's not like they have only 2 players. But Jaden Springer is talk about a guy who seems like a Tibbs guy, right?
He is a Tibbs.
Obviously he defends his ass off. He seems to put pressure on the rim. From what I could tell, talk to me a little bit about Jaden Springer and remind me where do you have him on your board right now?
So Springer is around that, he's in that 6 to 9 group right now.
Okay.
I'm very into Springer for the Knicks. I think it kind of makes sense. I think, you take care of both of those, not necessarily gunning for the savior right now, but also adding a good piece. He's extremely young. I think he's the youngest American player in the draft.
Yeah.
But that hasn't stopped him from being a legit productive SEC player, which is no joke. With Springer, he has a very unconventional style. It kind of is turns some people off. 6'4" combo is very strong. That's his calling card, the positional strength. Elite body control and deceleration getting to the paint. And when you watch him, you'll notice he consistently plays off of 2 feet in the paint. You hear all these old school coaches play off two. It's almost like they reincarnated Jaden Springer and was here's the epitome. And what that does for him is he kind of not settles, but gets a lot of these 5-foot pull-ups, which is I don't really know what to make of it, but he's really good at it.
Isn't he kind of an unconventional player when you just look around?
Very unconventional. Yes, very unconventional. A lot of stuff in the short mid-range, a herky jerky style.
Yeah.
The handle has really improved from high school, which is a big deal for him. And the playmaking has really improved throughout the year. He's getting more comfortable. He's drawing defenders. He's making some manipulative passes. A great fake skip pass into a drop off in one of the games I watched a couple of weeks ago. And he was just getting more comfortable. The 3-point shot is what I'm a little bit worried about.
I was about to ask, someone has to explain to me. He's 0 for his last 6. I think before those misses, he was up above 50% from 3, and he'll go 2, 3, 4 games in a row without taking a 3-pointer. This doesn't make any sense to me.
So the volume had gone. I need to catch up on their games and box scores recently, but since the Kentucky game where it was him and Keon both broke out, that game, he had been taking much, like he really upped his volume. In the beginning of the year, it was like 1 every 2 games or something like that. And he was making them, but he was very selective about when he was taking them. And as someone who values volume with shooting projection, I didn't really know what to make of it. He does need time and space. Usually, it's a little bit of like a load up, rise, fire. But however, when the volume was going up, I did see a little bit more versatility. He was less hesitant. He even was taking some off the bounce, which is really awesome to see. He's always been a pull-up shooter. It's just always been from that mid-range short paint area. Hasn't really extended out to 3 yet. I don't doubt him as a shooter. It's just a really weird shooting profile, like you said. I think he's bound, to regress down to the mean a little bit.
Okay.
I think he probably ends up, I think I was looking at his profile last night, actually. I think he's around like 47% now. Okay. I think he probably finishes the year when it's all said and done, including the SEC tournament, March Madness, probably finishes the year around like 39, 40% on low volume. And just kind of, when you're looking back in years prior, just has like a really weird shot profile. But regressing to the mean was pretty evident. However, that's really the only hole. I mean, I think he's the best guard defender in the draft.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Incredible strength and lateral quickness combination, takes bumps in the chest from bigger defenders, can slide with quick guards, great instincts off the ball. He's really good in digs with that strength. Just a great team defender, just a really good basketball player, and like someone who can play between, I don't think he's ever going to be a 1, but someone I definitely trust to carry some on-ball load in the league and, hopefully make the most of it.
So I might as well talk about his teammate. Keon is, he's the guy that there's a chance we look back in this draft that if he goes like whatever 7, 8, 9 in like 5 years and be like, why wasn't that guy the whatever third pick, right? Isn't he that dude?
I mean, you see me smiling right now, guy. I mean,
all draft Knicks love Keon Johnson.
I don't usually fall for the tools guys. That's not really my thing. I like the smart basketball players with the skill baseline that you can kind of peg them into, getting better and better, building on that. But man, there's just something about Keon that I can't really quit. And it's because the athleticism is so functional on the court. And that's ultimately why I'm so drawn in is, him as a driver, he gets all the way downhill. He explodes. And, I was talking about this, Max and I just recorded a couple hours ago. Okay. And we were talking about, Keon and Springer, when you watch them, when they get walled off, they resort to like posting up. And it seems like something, the staff has relayed onto them. I don't know, just speculating. But when Keon doesn't, settle, there are times when, he doesn't settle for that post and he'll get walled off and he'll snatch back into a pull up mid range. And I'm just like, that's the guy. Like, that's, he is just by far and away the best athlete in the draft. It's not even close. The amount.
Wow. Really?
I don't think it's close. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's awesome.
Him as a lateral mover is absolutely insane. The amount of ground he can cover, his hips just so fluid, and he explodes off the ground. Like this is a 6'4" guard, catching alley-oops on the break. There was a play in the Kentucky game. He came off an Iverson cut, which is just like horizontal cut around the perimeter, rip, one dribble, 2 feet punch. And like guards don't do that. Like guards don't dunk in traffic.
I didn't realize he was 6'4" until you just said.
I'm pretty sure he's 6'4" 6. He's probably not taller than 6'5", I don't think.
Yeah, no, but he looks bigger. I don't. It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, like guards don't get dunks in the half court. Like that's not really like a college thing especially with the spacing, and he makes it look so effortless. And there's just something about him. It's gonna need patience. It's gonna need player development. There's skill stuff that needs to be tightened up for sure. But if you watch, even from his high school games, from his AAU, his senior summer at AAU to his senior years, summer going into his AAU, summer going to senior with AAU into his high school season. Even then, there's concrete changes in the mechanics of his jumper. He's much more comfortable handling the ball, and it kind of looks like a different dude. So, Ross Holman, you probably know Ross. Ross has been on this train from the jump. And it's just about, continuing this growth curve from a skill development onward. And I'm not sure I like fully buy into it completely. I needed to like see it on film, and he's definitely a flash based guy, but I'm a little bit burned on the flash face guys from Pat Williams. So I'm a little bit more open to it this year. And, Keon is just someone willing.
What do you mean you're burned by Pat?
Pat burns me.
You do not like how Pat's doing right now?
Oh, I wasn't high enough.
Oh, you weren't? Okay. I was about to say, I kind of like Pat Williams. Yeah.
Oh, I absolutely love Pat right now. He looks incredible.
That's fair. That's fair.
I wasn't high enough.
That's fair. Okay. See, you admit when you're wrong. This is a very mature thing to do. I still can't do that. All right, I don't want to keep it for too long. So hit on a couple other guys who I think are on the minds of Knicks fans. I don't want to talk about Jalen Johnson. I just don't.
I don't really want to either. And I think he makes absolutely zero sense for the Knicks. So
there you go. Let's move on.
I agree.
Scottie Barnes, really interesting player. Again, I'm not sure it makes sense for where we are right now.
Yeah, I mean, Scottie's very complicated as an eval in the first place.
It's a good word for it.
Considering he is playing a role that he will not even sniff in the NBA.
You mean like running an offense?
Running an offense, guarding ones, you name it. He's doing everything.
Wild and crazy stuff.
And it certainly doesn't make my job easier, but
I don't know how you begin to evaluate Scottie Barnes as
it's tough. It's tough, but I can confidently say the Knicks do not need another 4-man who, we'll leave it at that.
Let's say sometimes it's very easy. I also don't know that we need to spend a ton of time talking about Moses Moody, who again is the guy who is just, he seems like like McCall was 2 years ago, like Devin Vassell was this year, just like the guy who people are, if you're a Knicks fan, you're like, just take this kid. He's does all the things you need to do. Is that fair with Moody?
As someone who was screaming, just take McCall, and also screaming, just take Vassell, I will certainly be screaming, just take Moody. And the rationale behind that is the same it was for Vassell last year. I was screaming from the rooftops. This is not, I will admit when I'm wrong, and I will certainly take my victory lap when I'm right. The Knicks should have
Vassell looks perfect. I mean, he's not a lot of volume right now. He's not getting the ball in his hands a ton at San Antonio. He looks good.
The Knicks should have drafted Devin Vassell, and I said it on draft night. I will say it today. That was a big mistake, and I think we're all kind of seeing it play out. So what you should learn from that is, like, does Moses Moody solve all of your problems tomorrow? Absolutely not. We're talking about someone who mostly operates off the ball. He has some on-ball equity, but what you're getting is just like a good wing piece. Like, I'm very high on Moody. He's probably towards the top of that 6 to 10 or 5 to 10 group for me. I'm higher on him than most, and I'll take it. He's been my guy since high school. I've in high school showcased a lot more of like stocks, a lot more steals and blocks. I think his role in Arkansas is a lot different, but what I've loved about him in Arkansas is he's been slotting with guards really well. And that was, a point of emphasis for him in high school, getting matched up on those quicker guards. He was more susceptible to blow-bys, and while he could make up for it in some instances with the length coming from like whether it be a chase down block or just a contest, now he's staying with guards. And I think, that's really good for him, because I don't know if he's a full 6'6". He might just be a 6'5" kind of guy. I think he can split between 2 and 3 with no problem. And Moody is just someone, like, if the Knicks can have 2 picks in the top 15, like, he's got to be one of them.
Maybe the ceiling isn't there, but like sometimes you just go for the obvious thing. And
my thing is, like, I think I've been saying this, like, people misconstrue like a lack of high ceiling because someone has a high floor. And my kind of that would be,
that's fair. Yeah.
If you're already there, you might as well go. And like Moses Moody, we're just talking, like, how many guys in the NBA are 6'5", 6'6", are plus NBA defenders on and off the ball, can shoot it at a high level with tons of versatility, and can get theirs 1 or 2 dribbles off the bounce.
Well, whoever they are, they're getting paid about $15 or $16 million a year.
That dude's getting paid, and that's a valuable player on a championship team. So, that is my pitch to Moses Moody's ceiling. Is it ever going to be flashy? Is it ever going to be all NBA worthy? I don't know. Are his highlights ever going to be as high as Jalen Green's highlights? Probably not. But is your night-to-night impact likely going to be greater? I would say so.
I was about to say, if you give me some money to put on, like, which one of these guys is going to impact, winning more over the course of their career, it's like, Yeah, you might look really stupid if you put some money on Moody, but I think the odds are going to be better if you put that money on Moody. Okay, I really could sit here and talk to you for a very long time, but we're going to do more episodes.
I don't have anywhere to go in this. I'm talking draft, so.
Okay, we're gonna do 3 more. Cooper. Let's talk about Cooper real quick. So Sharife Cooper, point guard, Auburn. I had not watched a ton of him this year. I happened to turn on the Kentucky game from whatever it was about a week ago, which was, I think, his worst game of the year.
Yeah, that was his worst game of the year.
Yeah, I was texting Spencer about that. He's like, I won't repeat exactly what Spencer said. It was like, I feel bad for anybody who like had to watch that for their job to like break down that tape, because he wasn't good, but he's been very good at other times, and well, talk to me. What do you make of Sharife Cooper?
I'm very in on Sharife Cooper, to be honest.
Okay.
It's not as clean cut as I thought it was. First couple weeks, I was like, this guy's surefire stud. The shooting's going to come around, and all of a sudden he's in a boot. Auburn probably is not going to make the NCAA tournament. But does he shut it down? Does he not play in the NCAA tournament? Now all of a sudden we're left with 10, 11 game shooting sample size of him shooting 40% from the field and 25% from 3. That's tough.
Not what you want, ideally.
Not ideally what you want. But my case for Sharife to the Knicks would be this. It's that the Knicks haven't had someone who can collapse defenses off the bounce consistently in a very long time. And Sharife can do that at the highest level.
Yeah.
Any way you want it, like Sharife will bend the defense, create handle. Like, I am not saying he's Harden by any means. No one.
Oh boy. Well, I don't know what's coming, but I'm looking forward to whatever it is.
The way that Harden effortlessly just blows by the defense. It's going to be, sometimes it'll be in and out. Sometimes it's a cross behind the back. Sometimes it's not even a combo. It's just a hezzy. The effortless ability to just blow by the defense and draw rotations. Sharife does have some like remnants of that. And
we should say he's averaging 8.5. He averaged 8.5 free throws per game, and to the shooting, as I'm sure you were going to point out, he's hitting over 80% of his free throws. So it's like, if you want to see evidence of long-term shooting, like it's there for you.
Yeah, and I'm just the reason I really like Sharife is you just don't really take that stuff for granted. The ability to consistently get into the paint, collapse the defense, and not only when you're there, make wizardry decisions out of it. I mean, he is an incredible passer. He's not Cade's in the draft, but maybe he's not up there with Cade because Cade's size, gives him a crazy advantage. And if you apply the pre-college stuff, I think Cade probably has advantage. But if you're going strictly college sample, I mean, he's probably been the best passer in the class. And incredible touch on these lobs, great vision. Toys with the defense on a regular basis. It's not as. The tough part about Sharife is that you're giving up stuff on the defensive end. Like, it's a given, and it's going to be hefty, and it's probably going to be hefty. So the offense needs to be that good.
But he's not a small man. He's not the size of like Trae Young. He's just that bad defensively.
I think he's Trae Young size.
Do you really?
Yeah, I think.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think he's probably 6 feet tall.
Oh shit.
Yeah. I think he's probably 6 feet tall. So, I mean, it's
rough.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. And he is a great finisher, but he's more of an anecdotal finisher, as what I called it on the pod with Max and Ben a couple weeks ago. Like, you're going to be watching, and he's going to have these reverses and these up and unders. Going to be like, oh my God, this guy is nuts around the rim. And then you're going to look at the rim numbers, and he's going to be around the league average because at the end of the day, he's a 6 foot guard, and things are tough for 6 feet guards, 6 foot tall guards in the NBA. So, given the size and the defense, I get it. It's not the easiest evaluation. It's not the most it's not clean cut, but I do think, PD tweeted above the break 3. He was like, Sharife to the Spurs, my new favorite fit. And like,
why does everybody do that? Everybody wants to send their this guy has an elite tool. He needs some work on a couple of things. Let's send him to the Spurs so he can be fucking awesome.
I know, but the Sharife.
Enough.
The Sharife fit to the Spurs is you get the small guard, you insulate him with these great wing defenders, and you put him with the San Antonio Spurs.
No, it makes sense.
But with the Knicks, it's tough. I don't know. I would be very happy if the Knicks drafted him, but I'm not as confident that it would go as swimmingly as I would have thought a couple weeks ago, if that makes sense.
Well, I don't know. There are times where I truly do believe that the number one thing on the Tibbs point guard hit list in terms of skills is put pressure on the basket. And he's like, just give me a guy who gets to the rim and puts pressure, as evinced by the current starting point guard of the New York Knicks. It's all he does. Literally the only thing he does. He puts pressure on the rim. Doesn't matter that he does make most of the shots when he gets there. 3 for 9. It's fine. Puts pressure on the rim. So I don't know.
I think, and I think, I mean, the Cooper quickly backcourt is really interesting to me.
That's interesting.
Because I think it definitely requires, a lot. It requires 3 other stud defenders when you're giving up that much physicality in the backcourt between those two, just from a height and weight standpoint.
Yeah.
Quickly fights, but at the end of the day, he's a smaller too. But, quickly kind of being the shot creator and operating in the in-between area and kind of like being that second side creator to, Sharife's rim pressure. What you lose with Cooper's shooting, you gain in Quickly's shooting. What you lose with Quickly's rim pressure, you gain with Cooper's rim pressure. It's interesting. I'm not saying I'm in on it, but
no, it's the right word. It's interesting. Okay. One more. Got to talk about him. Corey Kispert.
Oh, we're gonna have to add one more because.
2 more. Fine.
Yeah, so 2 more.
I was gonna. Yeah. I was gonna give one for you. So this is the one for me. I'm fascinated by Kispert because I mean, it's so simple to say, but you watch this team and you're like, man, if they had a guy that would just knock down everything from behind the arc, doesn't matter what it is, he's going to knock it down. That'd be nice to have. I will figure out the rest of the shit later. And Corey Kispert seems to be that guy in this draft. So like, talk me out of that notion.
I mean, there is no talking out of it. I mean, I think I've been talking with some people and just bouncing off ideas. Like he's near that upper echelon of like elite shooters to come through the draft. Like,
he feels like it, doesn't he?
I mean, we're talking about like the Cam Johnsons, the Baines, like those guys where you're just like, oh, this guy is going to shoot it at an elite level. And my favorite part about Kispert is the shot prep. It's about as fundamental and smooth as anyone. And, he favors that 2-foot hop. There's been a couple instances where he gets into the 1-2, which have been awesome to see. But, Kispert, as a trail man, that coming off pin downs, even off the bounce, like he's so fun to watch as a shooter because he can get into it from anywhere. Range is not an issue. Any type of momentum, he's getting it off. He's just an elite shooter. There's really no other way to put it. And my favorite part about him is he's added to his game. The shooting's kind of been there. I think he's taken it to another level this year.
He was going to be a second round pick. He was projected as a second round ish pick last year.
I would have absolutely taken him in the second round last year, early second round, and wouldn't have looked back. And the fact that he's built on, not only he's added to the shooting profile and made it even more enticing, he has added some juice off the bounce. Now it does not look pretty. It does not look quick. It is extremely methodical, but it gets the job done. And when you're that good of a shooter, all you need is, that 1-2 dribble pull up or that one dribble extension finish at the rim. It's very simple. You look at the looks that Duncan Robinson gets inside the arc. They're rather elementary because the defense, all they want to do is run them off the line.
Those are next level questions. Those are like, when I feel like I hear those questions, when I'm listening to like Zach Lowe do a finals preview podcast. So like, what is player X going to do when they run him off the line? It's like, those are first world problems to have.
Yes.
Let's get to there first.
That is true. I just can't stop myself from going down the rabbit hole. But with Kispert, you're getting elite shooting. That is a bankable skill, and the defense has improved. He's pretty good off the ball, has some instincts. Lateral quickness is better. It's not great. It's definitely better. I definitely prefer to have him, guarding bigger wings, fours. But he's someone that it's rather interchangeable with him between the 3 and the 4, in my opinion. Again, I'm a little worried that like the stock is going too high for him, especially after Gonzaga is probably going to give him the March bump. But we're
talking about a lot of guys here. Like we've
there are guys there.
We're gonna get to your guy who I have a feeling I know who it is, but like there's the top 5. I know it's the top 4, and then everybody else for you, but like there's a perceived top 5. We've mentioned Barnes. We've mentioned Jalen Johnson. Like those guys are going to go high.
Mhm.
Bouknight, Moody. We haven't even talked about Ziare Williams. We'll save him for the next podcast. The Tennessee guys, Cooper. It's like, and Kispert. Like there's a lot of like, it wouldn't be that nuts if he fell out of the top 10. I don't know.
Yeah. And I think anytime after top 10, I'm cool with that, honestly.
Okay.
It obviously depends on the board. If everyone I like is off the board at 9 or 10, fine. This is all contextual and we won't know till draft night.
Yeah, for sure.
This draft, if there's one thing, it has guys. Like I am very,
it is guys.
I am very in on Kispert, and like I can't see myself from a big board standpoint, getting higher than 12. And I think he's a great prospect.
So you really like some guys in this draft?
I think this class is good. I think the pushback that it's getting is that you don't have like everyone was like, oh, you're going to have all these stud wing creators when like in reality, what draft has 6 wing creators coming in? Like no one, like everyone was bound to like, you were never going to get a class where you had Cade, you had Mobley, you had Kuminga, Green as wing creator options. You had, I'm trying to think like Jalen Johnson as the next point.
And like Ziare is kind of underwhelmed. Like he's just
Ziare is underwhelmed, but like he's someone that I wouldn't mind, in like the back half of the lottery.
I'll die on. I'll tell you the hill I'm going to die on right now. I don't think that guy makes it outside of the top 7. I think some team talks themselves into the package.
I agree with you, and I don't think they're crazy for it. There not a lot of guys who are 6'8".
I was about to say, look at the fucking guy. Like he looks like he's just should be.
I mean, he's good. 6'8", shoots the ball at a high level despite what the percentages say. I mean, he's a shot maker. Always has been a shot maker, and high field, great lateral quickness. There's a lot there. There's a lot there to like. That vacuum pitch, that's an elevator pitch for Ziare, and that's probably gets you into the lottery. So, and then we just scratched the surface. So yeah, Ziare, there's a lot of guys. So, while I do think, this draft, I said it, like, I think there are 2 special prospects at the top. And then I think it flatlines a little bit from this like 3 to 12 range, but like, it's going to be like whoever hits their picks in that range is going to get massively rewarded, in my opinion.
All right. Is it going to be Wagner?
Yes. Okay. Yes, that's my guy. I've been watching a ton of Michigan film lately. I'm actually writing a piece on him right now that I'm hoping to get out early next week.
Okay.
He fascinates me.
Why? Why does he fascinate you?
Because he's really damn good at basketball, and no one wants to talk about it.
That's a good start.
And no one wants to. Some people were finally coming around.
So what? Here, let's start with. Why hadn't I heard his name in the conversation for like the top 20 or top 25 until recently?
People are slow
people are stupid.
People are slow to catch on,
Okay.
He was a fringe lottery guy for me coming into the year. Started off slow, and I think that's what kind of hurt him in terms of mainstream buzz. Everyone likes to jump on the guys who are killing it right now and then anoint them. I think like Cam Thomas was like 12th in the initial ESPN 100, like whatever. Franz, after the first couple games, just like slowly but surely picked it up and has only gotten better as the season went on. He's a little bit murkier for the Knicks because I do like him as like a 3-4 guy, and I think he brings a lot of value as a 4, which we're going to turn into the Detroit Pistons at this point. But he's just a really, really, really good basketball player. He's 6'9", moves extremely fluidly. Like he can switch. He will guard guards. He will guard 1 through 4 in college with no problems. He'll get burned on like straight line, like from a standstill. If someone has great standstill burst and he doesn't have time to like react and then jump it, that's where he gets burned. But like turning directions and sliding his feet, opening up his hips, no issues there. I'm an incredibly smart basketball player. Great weak side rim protector, is always on point with team defense rotations. And then offensively, like I think there's some untapped stuff there. Like he's a legit pick and roll handler at 6'9".
Oh, okay.
The best game, I think it's the best offensive game he's had all year from a playmaking standpoint, was the one I actually just watched right before I came on this podcast. The Rutgers game from recently. He's throwing wraparound passes as the roller. He's great patience as a handler, 6'9". I don't know if you remember like do you remember the Xavier Simpson hook shot when he was in college? I don't know how much college you watch.
Oh my God. No, you're lucky I remember the name Xavier Simpson. No, I do remember who that is. Xavier
Simpson was the Michigan point guard, and he had this patent hook shot that he would always go to deep and pick and roll. And Franz kind of has that same shot, except Franz is 6'9", so a lot more functional and projectable at the next level. What I love about him, like he's a good slash, can put pressure on the rim. He's added weight, which is he's not getting tossed around when he does slash and when he does bang up against bigger guys. He's just a very well-rounded prospect. And the numbers, the box score numbers won't jump out to you because Michigan is incredibly well-rounded as a team this year. And, everyone kind of gets their own. But that dude is a surefire lottery pick at the least for me.
Wow. That's a pretty good pitch.
He's good. He's good. And everyone, I think he is going to get for the people that are a little bit, either skeptical or haven't really bought all the way in yet. When March comes around and he's balling, I think he'll pick up some steam there.
This is going to get really, really interesting because look, we have a ways to go. Who the hell knows with Dallas? Porzingis is out another game tonight. Although at this point, I don't know. Is that hurting Dallas? Does that make Dallas worse?
I don't. The Porzingis trade is a wild roller coaster for me. I was heartbroken the day it happened. I thought nothing could age worse than it. Now slowly, I'm not going to say it aged good for the Knicks, but I think it's looking like more of a wash than I would have expected.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good way to put it. But yeah, no, I don't want to get in trouble. We don't have to talk about it now, but like I started the year out saying like I would sign for the 21st pick in the draft. If that's like, give me that right now for the Dallas pick. And obviously that sounds a little silly now, although if you ask me to predict where that pick is going to wind up right now, I'd still probably say 18.
I agree with you. Yeah, I was talking about that with my dad. My dad, he brought this fandom on me, so we got some Knicks stuff. And yeah, I think the two picks are probably, if I gun to my head to guess, I think our pick probably settles around the 9 to 11 range, give or take a few spots.
I'm a little bit more optimistic. I'm going to say I was going to say 12, 13.
Fair, fair.
But somewhere in that, sure, that range.
In the early 10s, I'm cool with that. And then I think the Mavericks pick probably settles in the late teens. So I think that's what we're working with, which is not what I expected.
No, it's not. But at the same time, but that's why I love doing these, because it gives a sense of like just this. There's guys. That's the line of this podcast. There's some guys in this draft.
And to be honest, like last year, I wasn't too mad about the Knicks getting the 8th pick in the draft. I thought that was going to lead to Vassell. I thought someone like Toppin was going to go. I had less faith in the league than I probably should have. Okay. I did not expect guys like Okongwu, Okoro, Killian Hayes to go off the board, Pat Williams as early as they did. I was expecting, Avdia, Toppin, I'm trying to think. Hallie. I was expecting that to be the first crop of guys. So I was cool being in the 8 and 9 range because I thought those dudes kind of fall into our lap, but you never know now. I think you got to play the cards you're dealt and go from there. It's the only way to do it with this stuff.
That's a good way to phrase it. Jake, I know we said it at the beginning of the show, but can you just let everybody at home know where they could find you and your excellent stuff?
You can find me on Twitter. That's the easiest way to put it, at Jake in the Paint. My blog, jakeinthepaint.com, is linked in there, so you can find all that stuff. Also, Prep to Pro, follow that. I think we're at Prep to Pro Pod on Twitter.
That is what you are at, and it is a damn good podcast.
Thank you. That's much appreciated. We've been doing a lot of philosophy talk lately, so if you're into, more nuanced draft talk, and then we intertwine it with some 2021 guys, with some past prospects, where we messed up and could have. We're learning from our misses, all that good stuff. Should have an episode. I don't know when this is going to come out, but this will
be out on Friday. So so this will be popping right away.
So this is be out tomorrow. So we'll also have an episode out on Friday. So after you listen to this, head over to Prep to Pro and go give that a listen. Max and I talked about ground coverage and defense.
I was about to say, if you listen to that pod, you will get so far into the weeds, you may not find your way back out. You may just be stuck in the weeds.
Today, there were weeds today. We wouldn't want it any other way. So definitely head out to there. And like I said, I'll be writing about Franz Wagner. Hopefully, if my professors, hold off on my workload a little bit, I'll have that up early next week. So that should be fun.
Well, I don't think the draft process will be quite as long as last year, but we do have some time left to go. So this will not be, as long as you're cool with it, this will not be the last time you're on this podcast.
No.
Because I think probably let's tentatively calendar you for after the lottery happens. And we know when the Knicks are going to pick, or if not sooner. This was a lot of fun. I had a really good time. Everybody go check out Jake. His stuff is awesome.